Welcome to our worship service for October 18th. Again, and hopefully this will be the last time for a while, this will be only a virtual service. I will be getting off quarantine hopefully by the end of day tomorrow. Really would like to stay off quarantine for a while, but I do think we need to make it a matter of prayer because if you've been paying attention, our numbers are going up again, and particularly we've had a number of incidences in the schools lately that I work in. So please be in prayer again for the people who are affected by these things. I hope by the time that we get done this week, for those in the leadership, I will be able to send you information or somehow get your signatures on the charge conference form so we can turn those in. So I'll be reaching out to you this week. The other thing that I know of that we need to make an announcement about is that we will be doing trunk or treat. I mentioned that in my text last week, but we will be doing that on Saturday the 31st. We will be doing our best to socially distance, which may mean just simply sitting the candy out there and inviting people to come over, wearing masks, whatever it would involve. But we will be conscious of the ongoing issues with COVID, but also would like to be able to get out again and do some things related to the community, which have been significantly hindered through this time. So as we step into our worship today is my last Sunday that I'll be talking to you about the various qualities and characteristics of God. I'm going to send a devotional thought out tomorrow that will relate to the fact that all that we've talked about, each of the different qualities, each of the different characteristics, are only truly experienced in a relationship. We have to be connected to God in order to begin to understand. We'll never fully understand, but to begin to understand the nature of who God is. And so I want to begin with something I began the first message. It's a quote by George MacDonald about our understanding of who God is. He wrote that if it be said by any that God does a thing, and the thing seems to be unjust, then either I do not know what the thing is, or God does not do it. The saying cannot mean what it seems to mean, or the saying is not true. If, for instance, it be said that God visits the sins of the fathers on the children, a man who takes visits upon to mean punishes, and the children to mean the innocent children, ought to say, either I do not understand the statement, or the thing is not true, whoever says it. God may do what seems to a man not right, but it must so seem to him because God works on a higher, on divine, on perfect principles, too right for a selfish, unfair, unloving man to understand. But at least all of us must accept some low notion of justice in a man and argue that God is just in doing after that notion. So again, as we try to understand God, we must understand, and we'll talk about this in the message, that we truly don't see the fullness of who God is. It's just like on a human plane. We cannot see into people's hearts and minds to understand what they're thinking. And so at times we misinterpret. We misunderstand a word they say or an action that they engage in. And it's not until we have a conversation with them, not until we talk with them, that we can understand the truth of what they were doing. Now again, as human beings, we have mixed motives. Sometimes we seek to deceive, but God doesn't do any of that. So when we look at these qualities and characteristics of God, if we see something that doesn't seem right, our first assumption, and MacDonald would say our only assumption, is that we're misunderstanding who God is. That's what I've been trying to share, is not a perfect perception of God, but to try to correct some of the more common misunderstandings. And one of the most misunderstood concepts of God is what we will look at today, and that is the fact that God is a God of justice. What does that mean, that God is a God of justice? I want to give you one other quote before we listen to our first song. It's from the Jewish theologian Abraham Heschel. He says, God rules the world by justice and compassion, or love. These two ways are not divergent, but rather complementary. For it is out of compassion that justice is administered. We have so often, and I will mention this in the message, thought of God's justice as his, and combine it with wrath. Heschel is saying, and Scripture says, that God's justice should be related to his mercy and his love and his grace. It's one of those 10,000 reasons that we have to worship him. And that's the song we listen to now.